Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It is time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea. Got my little angel cup this morning. Relax and let's talk about what is going on in the stars above for the weekend and also taking us into the new year. Can you believe it? We finally arrived at the last workday of 2023. So, good morning to you, Tom. Happy betwixt between Astro Design family. Okay. Good morning, Christine. It's good to have people with us this morning. I'm feeling a little like punch drunk after my presentation yesterday of the Astro Design 2024. It was a lot of information, and I think I'm still holding on to all that information. So let's transition, if we can, to what is going on for today, tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. Hopefully, everybody's had a good week. We are starting off the day today with the moon in Leo, and the Leo moon, of course, always one that I like. It brings me happiness and joy. It is a time to play and to celebrate, take some time off for oneself, be creative, etc. And that moon is in Leo today and tomorrow, Saturday, and will transition into Virgo on Sunday. And we actually begin the new year with the moon in Virgo. Well, I like the moon in Virgo. I have my own moon in Virgo. But Virgo means that we are starting the new year with a bit of like an eye to detail, maybe doing some detailed work, cleaning and organizing, maybe taking down those Christmas decorations and putting them away. Who knows? But it will be a time to get some work done. Now, not surprisingly, we have a lot of things kind of stacked on one another for the end of the year in terms of astrology. And the moon in Leo and Virgo is just like the surface of it, because we also today have Venus moving into Sagittarius. That sign change changes up the way that we are feeling in our relationships and how we might be dealing with things of value, money, etc., resources of all kinds. And then probably the best way to end the year is on Saturday when Jupiter turns direct in the sign of Taurus, coming out of his 4.5 month retrograde, changing up the energy for becoming more optimistic, perhaps, changing up the energy of how we grow and expand. So we'll want to talk about that. And then on the 1st, Mercury turns direct. So we have two planets moving out of their backward motion, sort of setting the tone perhaps for movement ahead, right? Slow movement ahead. And also, we have one kind of tricky transit on the 1st as well, Venus in a square to Saturn. So that can be impactful in our relationships. And with Venus in Sagittarius at that point, it can be, oh, maybe something where we are in a position to have to say things in a more blunt or direct sort of way. So let's dig in, shall we? It's good to see those of you joining us that I didn't say hello to in the beginning. Welcome to the show this morning. I inadvertently yesterday, when I set the show up at the beginning, set it up for 5:35 last night. I didn't change the time. So I'm setting it up at 5:35. That's what time it said I was going to go on air. I was like, I wouldn't have even known that, except a friend called me and said, "Are you really going on air in 5 minutes?" I'm like, "No." So maybe that confused some people, but indeed we are here this morning. So let's talk about the moon that is transiting in Leo. And, this leads us to an increased amount of energy devoted to creativity and confidence, right? We have this more confident, generous, even feeling about us. The moon in Leo is very charismatic, right? It has a lot of charisma, ability to get people on board with its ideas, excitement generated around its creations or its ability to be self-expressive, and we all may feel more expressive during these next couple of days. We may feel more playful and generous, as I said earlier, because during this transit of the moon in Leo, we tend to feel more connected to our inner child, right? The inner child within us. So it's a good time for us to pursue our passions, our hobbies, the things that you love to do, maybe even artistic endeavors if you're so artistic that that's what you want to put your creative energy toward. But it's a time primarily to relax, to have fun, to just enjoy life in whatever way that is important for you. Like, what do you really love to do? What do you love to spend your time in? We may also Leo has a tendency as a sign to draw attention to itself in some ways. So it's distinctly possible we may draw more attention to ourselves, or somebody in our midst draws more attention to themselves during this period of time. So we have to be careful that in the drawing of attention to ourselves, or in watching others draw attention to themselves, that we don't get into the ego issues that can occur with Leo. So, things like being more prideful or arrogant or dramatic, getting into dramas and traumas. Um, and of course, narcissism is another key negative impact in the sign of Leo. So, what can we do? Well, try not to take things too personally or react to anything impulsively. After all, Leo is fire, and there is a tendency they can draw that this energy of the moon in Leo can draw the drama out of us. It can thrust us into situations where we may, say or do things that later we might regret. So just, don't take things too personally, and absolutely watch reactionary energy. Try to respond, which means we pause, maybe we breathe in and breathe out a little, and then we take action. Okay. So, boom, you have that. So, channel your enthusiasm and optimism into positive and constructive projects or actions. Now, it's a holiday season, so we're still not in this real active get going on um, uh, your projects or your jobs or things like that. We still have Mercury retrograde, technically speaking, right? So it might be a really good time to use that creative energy in imaginative ways. Like if I could just sit back and imagine what my business might look like for 2024, or what my goals might be around hobbies, or what would I love to do, or who would I love to become, then you're using the energy in a more positive way, because it's definitely, while it is an action sign, it is definitely not the time to take definitive action on things. There's still some unclarity around what to do, some confusion, because we still have some powerful retrograde planets, right? So today, maybe just have some fun and play, determine maybe like what comes next, what might I want to do, but don't actually take any big steps. Now, on Monday, or Sunday, excuse me, when the moon transitions into Virgo, now it's a time to focus on the details of your life and of your work. Um, the moon in Virgo tends to make us all feel a little more organized, maybe even a little more analytical, um, more perfectionistic, perhaps, or nitpicky, but overall, also more practical. Virgo is an earth sign, so it has the ability to come down on the practical side of things. So we may feel more inclined over the holiday, Sunday and Monday, while the moon is in Virgo, to clean out the closets, to reorganize something, to focus maybe on the details of something that we've missed. Maybe we skipped paying a bill because we're so busy getting ready for Christmas. So the details become a little more clearer. And it could be a great time for us to take steps to improve our health and our healthy habits. It's a good time to sort out the clutter. I went to my brother-in-law's house yesterday. I had an appointment there to help them with something, and when I walked into the house, the whole wall, in front of me was filled with boxes and stuff from Christmas, right? That they just, gifts and so forth that they've opened but didn't have a place yet to put them. So our homes, perhaps, or even our offices, mine certainly has this problem, can be filled with clutter. Right? I threw a whole pile down here on the floor that you cannot see, luckily, of stuff that I'd been working on for the Astro Design 2024. I didn't know yet what to do with it, so I just threw it on the floor to get it out of my way. So this weekend might be a time to sort through those things that you haven't had time to do over these last few weeks. And as well, we have to watch for things, right? There's a side of Virgo that can be very critical or fussy, nitpicky kind of in a negative nitpickiness, right? That perfectionism gone to the nth degree. So we'll want to watch that. And we'll also want to watch a bit for emotional tunnel vision, where we've gotten so caught up in the way that we believe things to be sorted from facts and figures and what we see and what's practical, that we lose touch with the emotion behind it or the emotion that is contained within it. So don't lose sight of the big picture either, right? I don't know that that will be an issue because Jupiter's turning direct on the before the moon goes into Virgo, but make sure, right? You keep optimism, you keep the big picture in mind even while you are focusing on more of the details. So, with the moon in Virgo, we can achieve more efficiency and productivity in our lives, but it can also make some people, especially that are very um upset or worried types, it can cause stress and it can cause anxiety or overwhelm, right? You could look at your house and go, oh my God, how am I going to take care of all this? How am I going to do all of this? If you take on too much, or if you set unrealistic standards for yourself or others, then that overwhelm gets compounded. So, best to bite off things in little chunks, right? Okay, I'm going to clear this pile. And when I'm done with that pile, then I'll take on that desktop area. And then I will, you know, go take care of the Christmas tree. I will go take the lights down, whatever it is, right? Take your time. There is no huge rush to get anything done, but we may feel compelled to do work, to organize, to declutter, etc. So it can be very useful, but it can also, for some people, cause that kind of stress. Okay, so Pauline has a whole list of things here. Self healing, Capricorn 6th house. So Mercury going to Sag in the 5th house. When is Chiron going direct? I have no idea. I can look that up for us at some point, Pauline. But Leo fixed fire. Oh, my rising sign in the 1st house. Oh, so a lot of like processing going on here for you, Pauline. Um, Good for planning a vision board on New Year's Eve. That's a good idea, right? That's a great use of moon in Virgo. Actually, that's a great use of either moon in Leo or moon in Virgo. Right? Leo might give you the creativity, the artistry to, draw the picture of what it is or something, and then Virgo allowing you to fill in the details. I like that. Good morning, Pam Zaruba. It's good to see you. She says, goodbye, everyone. See you all in the new year. I always like to do that. See you next year. Indeed, I will. See you all again next year. Okay. So the next big thing occurring over the weekend, starting today actually, is Virgo. Virgo. Oh Lord, I need to go back to bed, y'all. Is Venus moving into Sagittarius, which actually is occurring at, I'm just trying to find the time, at 12:24 p.m. West Coast time. So it'll be 3 something this afternoon. So we'll have Venus up in Scorpio up until the afternoon time, and then she'll transit over into Sagittarius. Now, remember, Venus is the planet of love and beauty, harmony, money, banking, value, worth, self worth, right? Those kinds of things. And when she moves into the sign of Sagittarius, she sort of gets infused with the energy of adventure and optimism, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, we're linking two very positive planets, Venus and Jupiter as the ruler of Sagittarius. And of course, that also causes us to look more at the energy of freedom and apply that to our relationships and to our values. So this transit occurs starting today and until January 22nd. So just about a month. Venus will be in the sign of Sagittarius. So, if we break it down a little bit, let's see how it's going to influence us, um, our approach to love and our approach to connections over the next month. So, first of all, Venus in Sag becomes a little bit more adventurous, right? It's not that she's not adventurous. It's that when she's in Sagittarius, that is a sign known for exploration and adventure, then Venus experiences a heightened desire, if you will, to experience a new sense of adventure. Going places that she's never been, especially in relationships. This can manifest as a willingness to try new things together, start new hobbies together, embark on spontaneous journeys together, or just explore different facets of the relationships that we are in. So it's really good for that. It's expansive in nature as it relates to our relationships. And of course, she becomes very imbued with optimism and positivity here because Sagittarius is a positive and optimistic sign. It takes the overall mood in your relationships to a higher level, to a more positive level. And also, there's a focus more, I think, from every one of us over the next month of seeing the bright side of things, right? Seeing the brighter side. And even though there may be things that are going on in the world that are not particularly filled with optimism or bright, we personally can connect to that energy much easier when Venus is in Sagittarius. It may be a contributor to an uplifting feeling in our moods, creating a more enjoyable atmosphere around us in our relationships, supporting one another in our dreams and encouraging each other in personal growth. I mean, it's huge, right? Venus and Sagittarius. It's a really good way, I think, to end 2023, but also a great way to start 2024. Um, Alignment of values. Now, this one gets a little tricky because Venus in Sagittarius is encouraging us to connect with relationships on a more belief and philosophical level. So we're looking for more of an alignment of our values when Venus is moving through Sagittarius. Now that means we could be drawn to people who share our worldview, our beliefs, our values, and our ideals, which might mean that we can cut other people out who don't match that set of circumstances or that set of details. So we'll want to be careful. I mean, we do want to surround ourselves with people that we can really resonate with, but you don't want to be so exclusive that you miss the incredible person that might have a different point of view than you, right? That would be a great addition to being in your group or, worth your time to cultivate a friendship or a relationship with. So, overall, Venus in Sagittarius kind of favors a deeper sense of connection. And that often will be related to those people that we really resonate with, but don't do that at the expense of uh, creating a division between you and other people. Now, of course, Venus and Sagittarius, Venus is going to be in fire, right? This is a fire sign. So that means there's this necessary kind of feeling of excitement, of wanting variety, wanting freedom, adventure, all of that, right, is there. So there's the routine and monotony of our lives that we might want to throw out the window, right? I can see us, feeling like, we're going to do things different, right? I don't want to be in that 9 to 5 every day doing it the same way. So it may not feel very appealing to go back to those routines, right? If you've been off work for a couple of weeks to the holiday season, and the thought of going back and doing all of that routine monotony stuff can be annoying at best. So we're going to have to find a way while Venus is in Sagittarius to take care of the things that we must take care of, right? The job, the habits, the routines, but also inject moments of that excitement, right? Taking a trip, you could drive to work a different way, right? That's one way to inject excitement, perhaps, into routine, right? Do something different. But for this period of time, we're also going to feel more spontaneous. Now, if you know anything about your human design, if you are emotionally defined, you are not someone that's designed to be spontaneous. So this could be a more difficult expression for you. And I just want to remind you that while having emotional definition means that making big decisions comes with clarity over time, the little things like should I turn left or turn right do not need to wait for 24 hours or 48 hours before you come to a decision. You can build spontaneity into your life still, right? You don't have to be so uh much in the waiting for uh the clarity when it's something small, right? But if you're thinking of changing jobs or going on an expensive trip or, getting in or out of a relationship, moving, for example, those are big decisions. That's where the emotional center cannot be spontaneous for sure. It has to be slower so that you can get a read on the emotional energy. So those of you, I because I'm having this conversation in my own head, you're emotionally defined. How do you build in spontaneity? Well, you build in spontaneity if you're emotionally defined in the little things in your life, not the big things, the little things. Like, do I want to go to the beach today? Yes. Okay. I don't need my emotional authority for that one. Okay. If you guys get confused by that, just tell me in the chat. Um, Cultural exploration, right? Sagittarius is a sign of the world. It holds a big world view and is very much open to dealing with other cultures and exploring other cultures, other foods, other people, other belief systems. So it is a broad perspective that Sagittarius brings to Venus. There's a love for learning and all of that. So we're encouraged to expand our horizons while Venus is in Sagittarius by exploring different cultures, different beliefs. If I did this differently, what would happen? If I might want to look up what a different culture does at Christmas time, for example, or what have you. It can also manifest in us as a desire to travel, to get on the road again and engage in, that kind of exploration where we are purposefully putting ourselves into new situations, right? New people. It is a time for honesty and generosity. Sagittarius values honesty. The problem with Sag is that sometimes that honesty turns into bluntness, and that can be hurtful. Sagittarius also values authenticity. All the fire signs kind of do. And Venus is about our values, right? So, values around honesty, integrity, generosity, expressing your truth, being sincere in your communication with the people around you, the people that you love, and open communication and generosity, giving of a giving spirit, a giving, loving heart are likely going to be heightened during this next month. And that's why I say we end 2023 really on such a beautiful high note with this, right? And we go into 2024 with these transits. In the background, and we haven't even gotten to Jupiter turning direct yet, right? That just adds more of the optimism to the whole of this ending of 2023. So, Venus in Sagittarius is an open invitation for us to embrace a more adventurous or more open hearted approach to love, to our relationships, to our work, to our lives in general. It's time for us to explore, to learn, and connect with others. Um, and primarily with others who do resonate with our beliefs and our values, but not to the exclusion of people who might just have a little bit different way of seeing the world. We want to maintain a positive and optimistic outlook during this period of time and be open to all the possibilities that a higher love can bring, right? And unconditional love can bring. All right. Don't cut yourself off from love. All right. Good morning, Linny. It's good to see you. Angela, Christine, good morning to you. Pam says Chiron retro July 23rd to December 26th in Aries, moves into Taurus in 2026. Woohoo. That's going to be a big one, a good one. I kind of like the idea of Chiron and Taurus helping us all to become more abundant. So I look forward to that. Good morning, Asa, my faithful sidekick yesterday. I don't know how I would have done that yesterday without you. Thank you so much. And J-Lo, happy Friday. It's good to see you out there as well this morning. So now let's turn our attention to the second most favorite way to end 2023, and that is with Jupiter turning direct. So now the planets, when they are in retrograde, they tend to take whatever it is that their rulership is over and move it inward. So, for example, Jupiter in retrograde in Taurus could have had us, looking inward at our value and our worth, determining, what things of value were important to us and which things of value weren't. In the world itself, it felt like maybe at sometimes we were making our world smaller, right? It was coming inward. And now Jupiter, being known as the planet of expansion and growth, abundance, of higher knowledge, I heard an astrologer say this the other day, and I was like, I've said this before and I've totally forgotten about it. Jupiter is representing the God within us, right? Our inner guru. That's how I used to put it, the inner guru, your inner wise woman or wise man, right? It is the representation of that within you. And all of that's been being worked on the inner realms, right? Well, Jupiter has been in retrograde motion. And now, as it becomes direct, the energy of expansion and growth and optimism and seeing the bigger picture, abundance moves outward, right? It becomes a more outward expression. And Taurus is a sign that's ruled by Venus. So now we have Venus and Jupiter interacting again, right? When Venus moves into Sag today, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Venus and Jupiter then are linked that way. And then Taurus is the sign that Jupiter is turning direct in, and that sign is ruled by Venus. So we're linking the two benefic planets one more time at the end of this year. Now, Venus in Taurus is kind of connected to our values, of course, our stability, material possessions, how we earn money, the physical senses, the building of something of lasting quality, durability. And what we might experience now with Jupiter turning direct in Taurus is a sense of material growth and abundance and prosperity. I like those words, prosperity, abundance. Jupiter in Taurus can bring a period of time that really represents material growth and prosperity. I think it bodes well for the economy. As we move into 2024, I bet the numbers for the spending over the holidays, not that I think, go spend and make the economy better, but I think we're going to see more positive economic news. I believe like this might even be a reason why in the next couple of months the Fed may drop interest rates, right, and make things easier for us to borrow money or make it cheaper for us to borrow, which has impacts on the mortgage world, so buying and selling of real estate. Might help bring down taxes. It's going to be an interesting beginning of the year because we have all of this positiveness that kind of spreads from the individual out to the world, right? Out to the bigger, wider world. Now, we might have more financial opportunities. We may see our businesses become more successful. It can be a general improvement in your overall financial picture, right? Things getting better, your circumstances, your material circumstances. Taurus's influence, though, kind of suggests that we have to focus on stability. So I'm not saying that because we have this optimistic, abundant feel going into the year that we go out and spend all our money, or we, do things that are of a risky sort of nature. I'm saying, though, that if there's something tangible that you've really been wanting to do or to have, this is going to be a good time to bring it in, because this is a favorable time for financial decisions and for financial endeavors, right? Sometimes you got to spend money to make money. And this might be a call for us to do that. The timing is right for us to do that, perhaps. Now, as well, we have to have grounded expansion. Taurus, after all, is earth. It wants practical, it wants to be earthy, right? Down to earth. And its energy is stable. It wants that stability in the grounding. So when Jupiter, which is very expansive and growth oriented, comes to Taurus, it encourages to grow in a more deliberate way, in a more methodical way, in a more practical way. So, how can we do that, right? We've got to be able to find a way to maybe have a plan, a financial plan, because finances are a part of this. Let's just say it might be a good time these first couple of weeks of the year to create a financial plan. Let's say you have a specific dollar amount you want to have saved. Well, make the plan. How am I going to do that? Be practical about it. Now, it could involve steady progress too. I'm not saying that all of that has to be undertaken at the end of this year and be done by the time Venus moves out of Sag, or at the time, next when Jupiter goes direct, or I mean, retrograde, but take some time, right? It doesn't all have to be done today. Focus on your values. When Jupiter turns inward or turns retrograde, we are re-examining those things perhaps from an inner point of view. And now we're turning it outward. So living our values, walking our talk now. And Jupiter's influence here in Taurus could really highlight the importance of aligning your actions and inspirations with your core values, right? With what's really true and authentic for you. Not doing or saying things to make other people happy, not doing or saying things that you think will bring you money, but doing really truly the things like the money and the prosperity and the abundance come because you align with what your truth is, because you do what you love, you put your heart into it, right? Not choosing to go out and do something just because it's going to bring money. So that's what I mean by this, focusing on our values. And we may also have a heightened appreciation during this time of the stability and the security that can be brought to our world when we take those steps deliberately, but with an optimistic view. Like, I'm building for my future, but I'm doing it one step at a time, right? I'm not going all in and forgetting, to take my time. And Jupiter's direct motion here in Taurus can also encourage us to cultivate appreciation of resources, of the natural resources, not just the things that we think of as, tangibles or money that we earn, but what about, animals, the animals around us? What about the plants? What about the sea? What about water? What about the air? Like, have we really cultivated an appreciation of all of the bounty of the earth? If not, now's a great time to do that. We may want to focus on optimizing the resources that we have, right? That we are already utilizing, but maybe we can utilize them in a better way. For example, a bigger way of looking at would be to manage the forests in a better way. So we're not just clear cutting them, which is so sad to see. but maybe, learning how techniques that just thin the forest, but still can give us the necessary products that we need from the forest. So there's that focus on gaining a greater understanding of how all the parts work together in the big system called the environment in this case. And how is it that if we take step A, how does that really impact everything else? Because everything is interconnected. Now, Taurus is a sign of enjoying the senses, right? Being very sensual. The physical senses of smell, taste, touch, right? Those are very important. Kind of returning a sort of sensuality to all of us at this point, with Jupiter going direct in a sign ruled by Venus. Good food, good music, art. Anything else that's kind of a sensory, that turn, color, brightness. It's time to appreciate and indulge in the beauty around us now that Jupiter will be turning direct. Now, lastly, practical wisdom. Jupiter is often associated with wisdom. Like I said, it's the wise woman, wise man within you. It is your inner guru, it is God within. And higher knowledge also comes with Jupiter. And the wisdom here in with Jupiter in Taurus would be about the practical use or expression of the knowledge that you're gaining, right? Of the wisdom that you're gathering. So we may seek to, apply our knowledge in practical ways that would, you know, knowledge just for the sake of knowing isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that's not what's being honored here with Jupiter's transit through Taurus. It's about, how do I put the what I know out there into the world in a very practical way, in an informed way, making grounded decisions to be able to contribute to the overall well-being of myself, of my family, of my business, of my city, of my county, state. You got the picture, right? How do I contribute from a very powerful place to the world? How do I get my voice heard? So, big deal there. Okay. Now, any questions, again, you can put those in the chat, or you can always email them to me, Janet at living-astrology.com. Let's look at the human design week. Now, we've just been talking about all of the good things, right? The good transits that are really putting us out there in a more positive light, giving us access to more optimism and loving energy, that type of thing. But in human design, on the 31st, the sun and the earth change gates from the ones that they're in right now, which is joy and stillness. Joy and stillness, right? Joy and peace, you might think of. And they're moving into the gates of struggle and provocation. Now, the both of these gates live on the root center, so it has pressure. So there's pressure coming up as well with the energy of the sun and the earth moving through the root center. Now, the gate 38 is known as the gate of struggle, and it's associated then with the energy of perseverance and stamina, kind of that stick to itiveness and overcoming challenges by sticking to or sticking with something, um, persistent effort towards something. But the collective theme for this particular week, which, by the way, is from the 31st of December until January 5th, so well into next week, is about the collective theme of facing and dealing with struggles in various aspects of our lives. And what we're encouraged is to maintain resilience, right? To be resilient, to kind of go with the flow, and to, that there are some things in our lives that are very much worth the struggle, right? They're worth sticking to it until we get to the end result. Um, and other times, and this is what might get pointed out to us, are those futile struggles that we get caught up in that really hold no true meaning, or are being enacted at the wrong time, in the wrong place, with the wrong people that just doesn't fit, but yet we continue to persevere and struggle. So here it is about choosing your battles wisely, right? This energy of the sun, and the sun making it, very powerful for us, a powerful time for us to confront difficulties in our lives rather than avoid them, being willing to release the things that really don't have any meaning or are not worth the struggle, right? Like there was a saying once, don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff. It's only the big things that we really want to hold on to and have the tenacity to see it through to the end. And we'll know which those things are the correct things because we feel in within us that it's the right thing for us to be struggling with. It is the right place to put our energy. You have to go back to your authority in human design to understand what is right for me to stick with. And everything else is superfluous and can be just released. Now, the earth, on the other hand, sits at the gate 39, which is called the gate of provocation. And remember, earth is always associated with bringing up sort of the underbelly of something to our attention so that we can rise up to greet the energy of the sun, the highest expression of the sun. So, the highest expression of the sun here is sticking with something and persevering with something that is truly worth our effort, worth our time, worth our attention, right? So, to do that, sometimes we get provoked. We get stimulated by something. Somebody says something and it feels like a little dig. And if we are reactive to it, or we have a response to it, then it's something we definitely need to work on. Otherwise, we wouldn't be provoked, right? So it represents the earth here, represents the urge that we have for change. And that change comes to us either by our provocation of someone else or somebody else provoking us, right? So um, it's a place where those little needles that we feel, the pinpricks from other people, or that, the little digs that we give to other people take on bigger meaning, right? Um, the emphasis of the earth is the challenge to let go of the status quo, to stir things up, to make you look at where you are out of alignment with your true divinity or with your true soul purpose. So provocation has a purpose. And on the other, if you look at the channel that that gate is a part of, it's a part of the energy of abundance, right? It's a part of the energy of emotional response. It's very emotional energy, but provocation itself is like a little point of, the end of a stick moving you toward being more spiritual, being more in alignment with your authenticity. But it can feel kind of, well, provoking, right? We can all be provoked during this time. So the interplay between these two big energies, the interplay between struggle and provocation, can really suggest a time that we're going to be challenged, or our our lives may be met with the challenge to be more assertive, right? To be more forward moving, to address and overcome obstacles, not to just gloss them over, not to ignore them, right? We may be compelled to confront difficulties head on. And I just want you to remember that Venus is in Sagittarius, right? So we can do this in a way that's really beautiful. And we want to always remember that provoking others is not, that provocation is not connected to the throat center. So this is not license for us to just blurt out, you really would do better if you let go of that belief that you have about such and such a thing, right? Not unless that person has asked you for your input, would you want to use provocation in that way? But even if you didn't use it correctly, provocation is still holding its purpose, which is to stir the pot, to create the potential for a transformative experience that arises from our willingness to look at what it is that is being provoked within us rather than avoiding it. So rising up to the challenge and not avoiding the challenge. It can feel pretty intense as the energies go, but it can provide really good opportunities for growth and positive change. And that would come from our willingness to confront whatever those issues are, whatever those triggers are, whatever got provoked within you, right? So important. Okay, so again, that's likely one of those things that is going to be individual, right? I can't say that for every one of us we're going to be provoked in that way. Uh, but you can guarantee that the provocation, wherever it comes from, in whatever way it comes, will also be emotional because 39 heads over to the solar plexus. The pressure is to express it in an emotional way or to express the emotion behind it. All right. On January 1st. Happy New Year. Mercury turns direct in Sagittarius at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. It signifies that Mercury is no longer going backwards, causing us delays or upsets in communication. Like this morning, my favorite camera would not work. I almost just wanted to blow up the whole broadcast this morning because I don't like the lighting that comes from the camera that's on board my laptop. So I have a special camera that I use, but for whatever reason, my computer didn't want to recognize that that camera even existed. Don't ask me why. It did yesterday when I was doing the webinar. Things like that, right? Those Mercury retrograde little digs and jibes, hopefully in the process of smoothing out. This is associated with, of course, communication of a more optimistic and a broader kind of communication because he's in Sagittarius. It's about sharing from a joyful place. Um, and, while we probably had times of miscommunication or misstating something, somebody told me the other day I screwed up because I said that Mercury would turn direct in Capricorn. Mercury's turning direct in Sag, moving toward Capricorn. But if I misspoke, that is a part of a Mercury retrograde. So that stuff sort of gets corrected now. The delays that maybe we've been experiencing will be corrected now. We can still revisit our plans and we can still take a look at, what comes next. But direct action forward after the first. And even then, right? I know some people might be like, hot, let's go, let's do. But Mercury is still in the shadow of the retrograde until January 20th, right? So we want to be careful that he gets outside. We want him to get beyond the retrograde area, which was eight Capricorn backwards to 22 Sagittarius. Then we have the energy of new with us. And then we get clarity in our communications, perhaps. As Mercury goes direct, that fog that lies in our mind lifts. And that gives us access to being able to speak more clearly and more clear writing, perhaps. It just makes our communication improve, right? That's just the big deal here. It is also a good time for us to look at then what do we need to do next to move forward with our plans, especially if we've delayed plans during the retrograde period of time, or if they got delayed for us because of the retrograde. And it will be a time for us to broaden our perspectives. Mercury in a sign of exploration, of adventure, of optimism, of seeing the bigger picture. So, Mercury turning direct in Sagittarius may be a renewed interest in exploring new ideas or doing things differently, exploring different philosophies or perspectives. It's really going to be a positive time for us to be open minded, to be willing to see the bigger picture, where before maybe in the retrograde our picture got smaller. All right. Forward momentum as Mercury turns direct and starts to gain momentum. We'll see that our projects and things that have been stalled start to move forward. Anything delayed begins to gain momentum. Decisions that we had to put on hold will be able to be made. Less indecision during this period of time, a greater sense of progress overall in our lives. Honest and direct communication. Sagittarius, of course, is already known for that. That's straightforward, honest communication that can sometimes be blunt. We want to be straightforward, we want to be honest, but we don't have to do it in a harmful or hurtful way. But as Mercury goes direct, we might have an inclination to express our thoughts and our opinions with more candor than usual. Like maybe in the retrograde, you were able to hold your tongue. You were able to stop yourself from saying what was uppermost on your mind. But now with that direct motion in a sign that, loves honesty, we might be very pushed to say what we really mean or what we really feel. So it's important to communicate authentically while being mindful of the impact that your words will have on someone, right? Being very careful here. Travel, exploration. Sagittarius is associated with all of that. And when Mercury goes direct here, it could be a favorable time for us to make plans to travel, get maybe even to take some trips that maybe got put on hold for whatever reasons during the retrograde. So there's that completion of unfinished business. The direct motion of Mercury in Sagittarius gives us access to forward momentum. So things that we weren't able to resolve during the retrograde, we might have more, has a little more, legs to get us where we want to go. And a sense of purpose maybe coming back to all of us, where that was kind of lacking over the retrograde. So, overall, we're going to be shifting from the more reflective, inner focused Mercury to the more forward moving and expansive energy of Mercury direct in Sagittarius. It's a time for us of renewed enthusiasm and a sense of adventure and the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom and understanding, right? So, good energy there ultimately, but slowly because Mercury doesn't like go from, stopping to starting and moving fast. It takes time. All right. Lastly, and I can't believe we're going to get this done within this time period. Um, we have Venus squaring Saturn on the same day, on Monday or the first of the year. And this is a challenging aspect, and it can bring frustration and limitations to our personal or our professional life or to our relationships in general. So, transiting Venus is in Sagittarius, and she wants what? Freedom, adventure, expansion in love and relationships. But transiting Saturn in Pisces imposes boundaries, right? He's trying to corral all that Neptunian boundarylessness in Pisces and put limits on things, restrictions in place to remind us of our responsibilities in the creations that we've had. So Venus squaring Saturn can ultimately kind of dampen our enthusiasm for pursuing the adventure, right? The common sense. I think of Venus squaring Saturn as the common sense angel on one shoulder, to the other angel on the other side that says, "Yeah, go ahead and spend that money." So we may feel torn with on that day. It's just a couple of days, really, between following our hearts or fulfilling our duties and our responsibilities. And we can encounter obstacles and delays along the way that can prevent us from pursuing our desires. I always think of those things as maybe little saviors in disguise. Like maybe it stopped me from doing something that I might regret later, right? So, having no boundaries sort of ensures that at some point we're going to regret not having had some kind of limit. So with Venus and Saturn here bringing in at least some kind of limits, we can ensure that it's more realistic. Whatever our progress is going to be more realistic. We can be more patient. We have to bring that to the table. We can bring patience. Um, We are also maybe finding ourselves in a position that needs to where we need to compromise or let go of something or someone that is no longer serving us in the highest. Difficult day, right? It can be. On the positive side, though, this can help us clarify our values and strengthen the commitments that we have made that are really right for us, and to deepen the compassion that we have for ourselves, but also our fellow human beings along the way. So overall, it can be there's a couple of little dampeners to the big, good feel transits that are ending our year. So we don't have to let the perceived stumbling blocks of Venus square Saturn or Mercury turning direct and kind of creating kind of a hubbub stop us. We just want to be more deliberate, perhaps, in how we move forward and how we go on. And I just want to remind everybody next week, I won't be on Monday. I'll be on Friday. But before we get to Friday, Mars will be moving into Capricorn. And that is huge. Mars really does well in Capricorn. It increases our ambition and our drive, our discipline, our ability to persevere. So Mars action is put into play by that Capricornian discipline, right? That plan, the goals. So pursuing our goals with determination is kind of the theme that Mars will be bringing us in Capricorn. So it can help us achieve success in what we want to do in career or personal or our public lives, as long as we avoid becoming too rigid, too controlling, or too ruthless in what we do. Right. So we'll talk more about that on Friday. I'll bring up some more details about that in the broadcast. All right. So let's end today with a couple of card readings. I want to do my star codes, Astro, and because we're still in the Yule energy, I want to do a card from here. We only got to do it one time, so let's do it today. This is called The Magic of Midwinter, and it is a beautiful tarot deck. So let me get the cards out and see what wisdom they will bring to us for the ending of 2023 and the ultimate beginning of 2024. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it's a good thing I know better. We get the death card, the card number 13, death. Literally not death, but change, right? Something transforming. And right, the death of the old year and the birth of the new. Let's see what this card means. I like that it's the number 13, though. That kind of brings a spiritual quality to it. It is a card of transition, of separation and transformation. This card defines the tarot as a whole. In a secular sense, it is this card that instills a deep fear in those who do not understand the function of the tarot. And yet it belies a powerful message that goes beyond the fear of death. It is instead the initiator of transformation. I love that. Here we see one of the most terrifying yet misunderstood figures from popular Yuletide tradition. It is the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come from Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. The figure is intimidating and powerful and evokes a fear reaction in Scrooge, who goes through a process that eventually leads to his transformation. But before it comes, he must face the reality of his own demise. The figure appears like a grim reaper, and yet it does not kill, nor does it take anything away. It is simply the precursor to an ending, the initiator of great change. The death card rarely represents an actual death, but it can express a profound grief from separation or loss. In its usual sense, it implies that in order for the path ahead to be clear of hindrance, the individual must undergo a transition, and that process may well be fear ridden. This card teaches us that what we truly fear is fear itself, and that change can be tantamount to death, for we may not recognize who we are after a great upheaval. This is a card that represents the inevitable, regardless of how many offerings we may give it and irrespective of our status. Queens and paupers alike must eventually face the inevitable head on. Do not be fearful, for what hides in the void of death's cowl is truth. And when I pulled the card, it was right side up. So there's that message. And the message here is clear. You cannot hold on to that which no longer serves you. You have become stuck in repetitive patterns of habit and behaviors addicted to the status quo. It is time to take a deep breath and summon all your courage to plow through into a new dawn. A time of transition is necessary, or there will be no transformation. You must let go, or you will be stuck in a cycle of history repeating itself. Wise words for the ending of a year. Kind of like that. All right. And let's pull a star code. This is a deck by Heather Rowan Robbins called the Star Codes Astro Oracle. And let's see here. And of course, this deck is organized into houses and planets and signs. So we'll have to see like what's to pop out here. Progressions. So we have the ghost of Christmas is yet to come. And now we have progressions as the card represents journey, a journey forward. So I love it because we've never used this deck before. And by the way, it's card number 56, which is an 11, which makes me think of light, illumination, right? Seeing the light. Okay, progression says the planets continuously move through time and space. When you are born, you imprint the patterns of that moment, which are described in your natal chart. But the planets keep moving, and you also imprint the patterns they make as they progress through those first few months of your life. These progressions sketch out the big, sweeping journey of your life. You live that pattern out at roughly the rate of a year to a day for the rest of your life. Once you're born, you can't choose the cycles that you live through, but you always choose how you respond. The action here says progressions do not speak of a passing thing, but to the big sweeping arcs of karmic fate to your soul's journey. Your present situation may not make sense in the short term because it has more to do with a bigger karmic pattern and how those intersect with the karmic patterns of the world's progress and less to do with your daily existence. Stand back and look at your life's journey. Think of the years you engaged with the world and the years you needed time for more personal work. Consider making a timeline or painting this landscape to see where you are in those big sweeping patterns. This situation may feel fated, but the outcome is not predestined. Though you may feel uncomfortable, you always have a choice about how you respond and where you go. To help guide you in the moment, consider where you would like to be at the end of your life, a far distant point, and look back. Let this future become your lighthouse to guide you. Even though you may have to go around the rocks and work with the tides, let your lighthouse guide you. Here's the challenge. This is not a small obstacle or opportunity. This is part of a complex pattern. Every choice you make changes how it unfolds. The gift, trust the tides and set your own sails. Wow. Two great cards for us to end the year on, right? There we go. Death and progressions, right? Change and transformation in order to make progress. I love it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me, not just today, but throughout the year. We've been through a lot together this year on this planet that we call Earth. And I expect that we will have many more experiences as we go into 2024. But most of all, may you all experience peace and prosperity, love and joy in the coming year. Mwah. Blessings to you all. Bye.